Welcome to Conversations in Between the Realms, a podcast where the mystical meets the everyday. Join Amanda Nova and Beth Renov each week as we dive into the profound journey of awakening, sharing our experiences, insights, and the lessons that guide us toward our divine purpose. Together, we awaken and guide our souls and others, exploring the magic of living in the 3D while staying connected to the higher realms, embracing the challenges, and celebrating the growth. You've been guided here for a reason. Trust in the journey and let the unfolding begin.
Welcome back to Conversations in Between the Realms. This is Amanda Nova, and I am here. I'm so happy to be back with Beth Renov, and we are back. We are back after, 1 week, but it feels like such a long time because I feel like I have been without my friend Beth now for the past couple of weeks because Beth was taken over by Archons, and I feel like that's such a crazy thing to say, and we're like acting like it's so normal, but I really feel like you have returned to me because I really do feel like you kind of did go through something the past couple of weeks, and we do act like these things are like very normal, but it's like not. You feel like you're alive again, but like you really did go through something, and it's something that did happen in conjunction with the podcast, and I feel like we should start there, and then we can kind of talk about how we both sort of brought each other back to life through all of that.
Oh my God. And I have like chills all over my body. Like, we talked about the Archon that came through when you had done that channeling. I don't think it was the second time. It was that first one where I'm like, no, I'm like, this isn't it wasn't Joshun. It was some other person. I forget her name. It was like Chloe or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember
a couple times we have been hacked-ish. And I wanted to tell you because this came up with a girlfriend of mine. So if anybody's watched the light tapes, my friend Alana, who she interviewed, and she's a tarot reader who has done some interviews, who's like in this space with us, she actually brought something up to me, which I want to tell you on here because I think that this is what happened. She told me about a concept called mimics, who are these sort of like, let's say like archonic demonic entities who pretend to be or mimic things that you might know. And so I thought that that's 1000%, like when something came in, and we've had it happen, one came in and pretended to be from the Galactic Federation. And this is what we're talking about, that we had talked about before on the podcast. And that's how we learned about Archons in the first place, and then one came in and pretended to be Joshun and was like, hi, I'm Joshun. And then we never aired that podcast. And that's kind of why we're actually a podcast behind, because I freaked out and then I've sort of been trying to figure out what happened. But since that happened, Beth has actually not been feeling very well.
No, I felt so weird. It was almost like a really heavy cloud was on me, and I was feeling like depressive symptoms, really anxious, reverting back to things that I kind of let go of, like being obsessed in the chaos of things. And really overthinking, spiraling, rabbit holing in negative ways. Not like, oh my God, let me figure out what this deity is that is coming to me. It's more like, here's the end of the world and let's dive in, right? And that is not me. I have not been that way. I am a pretty perky person. I have a sense of humor. I didn't have a sense of humor. And I've said this before. When I lose my sense of humor, I was fighting with my wife a lot. I just had this negative cloud over me, and I was I don't understand. I was doubting myself. It was draining all of my energy, and I couldn't understand what was happening. It didn't feel like a normal depression, which I've had before. It didn't feel like normal anxiety. It felt like something was stuck on me, and like took over. And I said to Amanda the other day, I'm like, it's like the pink goo from Ghostbusters that feeds off of negative energy, and it's just like taking over my life. And like you said to me, you're like, I'm not gonna lie, like your voice hasn't even sounded like
you did
yourself.
not sound like you, feel like your energy felt different. It was so bizarre. And so you had been feeling like this for 2 weeks. And so what's so interesting is when we opened this door to kind of learn about the archons, and you can kind of look at this through a couple of different lenses depending on what you believe. And I want to say this, like, you know, and just having this conversation with my girlfriend, you know, as well, who does tarot and is a channel. When you meditate, when you are a channel, when you do readings, when you are a medium, you are open. So you open the floodgate for all different types of things to come in, right? And we've talked about this before. Now, when I was sick and, you know, or let's say when you know, drink alcohol or you do drugs, you know, there's different things that maybe like can cloud and make it, you know, you more susceptible for maybe not things that live necessarily in the light to come in or get attached to you. So there's different lenses to look at this. This could be looked at as demonic entities. They could be looked at as some people, depending again on what you believe, can be looked at as attached souls, right? Like some people might call them that.
Right.
We have been calling them archons. Archons are ancient, you know, demonic beings that feed on chaos. That is what they, and that's, and I like us calling them that because I really think it gives us like,
me too.
It's just like our thing. It is a real thing that you can look into. And I searched them on TikTok and there's like things on them and they're kind of, but like it's kind of, it's just our thing and our way of, you know, but it could be looked at as demonic or ancient or attached souls or whatever, a negative entity. Okay. Coming through. And I also like this mimic idea because it is this idea of like, it's impersonating something good. Coming in and being like, hey, I'm here. And oh, you're a channel and you're opening the channel and you think that you're now, you know, channeling in all these beings and these deities. And oh, you know, you now are channeling the Council of Light and you're channeling the Galactic Federation and all of these things. Oh, here I am. I am one of those star seeds, you know, so there's different ways to look at it, but there are negative things that can come in. And that's what happened. So a negative one came in, pretended to be a good thing, and then was feeding off of Beth's light, essentially, for 2 weeks.
So it's like a Dementor from Harry Potter mixed with, what was it called? A Bogart? Or what was it when they came out of
a Bogart is like a fake one.
I forget what it's called. Right. Yeah. So it's like Harry Potter, if you want to put it in that lens. It was like when they were practicing what they were afraid of and it would come up. That's like what it was with a Dementor kind of vibe where it was like literally sucking the life out of me. And what's so interesting, I forget, I think you had told me one of your clients, their kids like came in contact with something really negative, you know, and like I've just heard all these stories. I think your dad saw something, right?
Yes.
So he got really freaked out. I'm like, I've never had that experience. Well, I was having this experience. I just didn't realize it was going on. So I've never had someone like come to me where it felt like they were in front of my face, but I was having this experience that I didn't even understand was going on. So sometimes it's going to come to you like as if a person was standing in front of you. It's really scary, but you really just need to tell them you're not allowed here, right? But it's so hard when you don't know what's going on and you just feel like you're slipping into like the abyss is kind of how it felt like.
It's also not always so black and white. And so this is what I think is happening as well. And so, and I always felt that way too. And, you know, it's so funny because I had this conversation with my parents a few weeks ago where they had said to me, you know, well, you channel and can't something negative come in? You know, their fears of like, you know, the old Catholic fears of like, well, can't you get, you know, exorcism and all that stuff? Well, can't a demon come in? And I'm over here like, and also now thinking about it, like how arrogant to think that like, okay, well, like nothing negative can happen because I believe in the light. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, like I'm so protected. And I, am thinking like, okay, well, if I only believe that like the light, it's light beings, and I truly believe that like I am protected, that only light can happen. And I have this conversation with them and I'm like, well, I believe that, we come from source and there's really only the light. Like I am not here believing that like people are taken over by demons and negative entities. And I just don't believe in that stuff. But then, a few weeks later, I have these negative experiences. And I told Beth when it happened to me, I felt assaulted energetically, like energetically raped. And I know that that's such a violent thing to say, like such a violent word, but that is how it felt, because I felt like my body, when it came into my body, an energetic field in a channeling way like that, like against my will, that's how it feels. Like it's like you did not give permission and something came into your field. Okay. So, these things, they do exist. However, the way that it happened to Beth, it's not so black and white of like something so scary popping out from underneath your bed or out of the closet. Like it looks like something from The Ring and it's like, wah, and you're like, okay, this is clearly negative. I wonder how many people are going through depression, anxiety, negative feelings, and have maybe an attached soul, have a archon, something going on that maybe we're meditating, opening a channel, and are having something like this going on, and they don't even know.
Right. And to take it a step further, I don't think people even know when they're opening up sometimes. So it's like so uncontrollable. So it's like, especially if you're not buying into spirituality, and it doesn't mean that spirituality isn't happening, right? So you might be opening up in a way that's really spiritual without you acknowledging it, and these things come in. And you could also have attached souls just because you were born with them, right? Like from your past lives, like I had with that mother, right? And so it's really hard to differentiate. And it's not to say mental illness doesn't exist. It absolutely does. But how much of it is just energy that's stuck? How much of it is these negative energies coming in? Like, so it's like, who's to say?
But it's also, I think, and this is what one of the things I wanted to talk about, because there are so many people doing this irresponsibly. And I was thinking about this because I last night did a ritual, and we'll kind of get to how we both started clearing some of these things. Did a ritual where I was taken back to the moment where my Kundalini was opened up. And I realized in this moment where this opened up for me, and it happened during the pandemic, and I realized irresponsibly, like how I, like, just all of the things like came to like, it like happened in a moment where I was like, oh my God, this person that did this shaman that I was attending this with so irresponsibly opened up my Kundalini. And I didn't know at this time, I was so not in the spiritual realm of anything, didn't know what I was attending, didn't know what I was doing, and opened it up and like opened up like my psychosis, all of this insane stuff. And me now knowing that I've been in hiding and all of the other things that I know now from a spiritual level, opened this up, and like could have been like all the stuff that they were doing to me, putting codes in, putting all this, like there are so many people that are transmitting negative things and archons and negative entities. I don't even know that they realize that they're doing it. But I think that something like bad happened to me in that moment.
Okay, so you know how you kept seeing like war? Okay, so this just came to me, is like these people, I think maybe your shaman is not so good. And she opens people up, and that's a form of war. because then it's open season on the person
No, it was
who's
a man.
open and doesn't
It
realize
was a
they're
man.
open. It was a man? Oh, I thought you were talking about the woman you took the
No,
test with.
I'm talking about
Okay.
something that happened. This moment that I saw,
Okay.
when my Kundalini was
Got it.
awakened, this moment that came to me, I was spinning. This moment that came to me, this was when I worked for, this moment that happened, Beth, that came to my mind was when I worked for Applegate. I was working,
My God.
yes, I was working for Applegate. This moment, you knew me at this time. This happened during the pandemic. This was 5 years ago. But when I did this ritual last night, the moment that came to me was, and it was at the exact same time that all of the disease stuff came to the surface.
So he was like, and creating open season on your body, like for all the things to come
Yes.
in. And I wonder if this, like, and that's the
Yeah.
war that you're seeing is like, yes, it was back then with the, what are they called?
The Anunnaki. Yes.
Anunnaki. I knew it was on the neck. But that's
Yeah.
still going on with these people. Like when I've said like activation's gone wrong, these people have the activation's gone wrong by evil entities, and negative entities. And they are basically opening people up, creating open season for the negative energies to come in and like take
so this
over.
is happening to people all the time. I didn't know, so I wanted to tell people. So I didn't know 5 years ago when this happened to me that my Kundalini was opening. So, and the reason why I know this now, I went to a meditation experience group prayer during the pandemic. And I was kind of getting into the spiritual stuff at this time. I didn't really know. I was just starting to feel like the sickness stuff going on. I was just getting into all of this. I didn't know what was going on, but I remember that I started spinning. I started spinning around and I didn't know what was happening. And they were speaking in tongues and I started spinning. And I think that moment was when my light went up into the sky. And that is like when like my soul, like light went up, like my bat light of like, here she is. Like, this is like where she is. And like that is like when like since then I have been in a battle with my soul, like, and
your
my
body,
physical body. And I like didn't know what was happening, but that is when my Kundalini awakened, and it's been a journey since then. But it's so strange because last night they went into this ritual and that is the moment that I went back to. So interesting.
So interesting.
And to clear the
we
sacral.
both have like big revelations.
Yes, but so Beth had sent me, Beth had sent me to do a ritual for my sacral space about safety. All of this archon, all of this stuff is about safety within channeling, within your light body, within your energetic space. Because in order to continue to do this, in order to be able to do this and feel safe, you have to be able to find that grounding within your nervous system, within your light body, within your physical body, and have that connection. So you were saying to me, there's like a block there.
Right. Well, and I think it's so interesting. What I saw was this like ethereal storage room where your creativity was safe. It was just behind closed doors so that it couldn't be accessed maybe by this negative energy, right? And you had to clear the space and create safety so that you could bring it back in, because that's what you were like, I was feeling so blocked creatively. And that was purposeful. Like you needed to clear out the negative energy. You needed to kind of reactivate in a safe way.
Yeah, exactly. So when I went in to do this ritual that Beth had guided me to do, I was taken back to the first place where my Kundalini was activated unsafely activated. And that is important for me to mention here because I want people to understand that there are people doing energy activations. There are people doing all kinds of stuff just unsafely. And these archons, these negative entities are finding these breeding grounds of channels to just go through, because people are just like willing to just open themselves up and be like, oh great, somebody wants to talk to me, archangel so and so is coming through, deity so and so is coming through, great. And there they go, they're able to mimic, and they get to show up and say, hey, here I am, I'm a Palladian, and the people are like, great, that's so wonderful. So and that is why Beth and I are here, to help you discern that. And that was what our last episode was about being able to tell the real and the fake. But then still these things happen where you were taken over for 2 weeks, and you know, these things, they happen. So when it does happen anyway, how do you clear it from your body?
Right. And also, like, if you notice after you get a visit from one of these archangels, you're in this meditation and you do some sort of activation or clearing, and you feel this negativity, this anxiety, this depression, go to someone you trust for another clearing. You know, because Amanda was kind of bugging me about it, like, not in a bad way, but she's like, I think you need to clear. I think I need to clear you. I think I need to clear you. And I'm like, no, no, no. And I was making excuses. But I think I was just so in the fog, and finally, like, I'm like, okay, do it. And she did an activation on me on Saturday, and it was like within an hour, I bounced back. It was so crazy. And I'm like, I went into meditate. I hadn't been able to meditate. I was just passing out like every single time. I couldn't meditate. I was just like so blocked up, and it just like felt like someone was like plugging things in me so that I couldn't do anything, like even actually get help for it. So like, thank God you were like, okay, I like need to say something.
Well, they distract
because
they are like, the way that I look at like these negative entities, these archons, like they are chaos, but they are also the jester. They are the distraction. They're like I don't know if anybody watches RuPaul, but they're like, look over there. Like you're like whenever you're on your path.
Well, is it ironic that I married a jester? That's literally her last name.
Is it?
Yes.
Shit. Yeah. Yikes, my yikes. Yeah.
No, but she's funny, so hopefully it's just that.
Yeah, but like,
but it was
yes, that's exactly. They are
right. But I will say, like, I was able to meditate like immediately. I think I texted you like 2 hours later being like, oh my God, I meditated. I just got some clarity. Like, and then I just like felt like my energy came back. Like, it doesn't take much to get you back. It's just, it feels like you're walking in sand to get help and to actually do something that makes the shift.
Well, you felt like you like removed something from you. And I kept seeing like these gigantic like boulders. And I was just like walking lightly and treading lightly because I could feel the energy around you. And I was like, I don't want to say anything, but like, I feel like you need an activation, but like, you know, to just like shift the vibration. And I understand, because I had gone through something similar around Mother's Day, and I was saying that to you. Like, I was like, I felt that. And I could see myself going through it. It's like when when you're fighting with your significant other and you're like watching it, and you're like, you're watching yourself. You're like, why are you saying these things? Like, you're watching yourself fight, and it's like watching a car wreck. It's like, you're like, oh no, I'm going to say it. She's going to say it. It's like, oh, it's just like,
it's like, you can't stop
it's like, it. I can't. It's like, I'm just, I'm going to, like, it's going to happen. And, you know, and I had told you, like, when I was going through the same thing, like, I remember, like, my husband saying to me, like, you are in a low vibration right now. And he doesn't even, like, say that kind of stuff. And I was like, you are so right. Could not get out of it. And they distract, and they feed on chaos, and they create negative energy, and they feed off of it, and it just gets you just get like deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole, and you can't get yourself out of it. And you know, you fell asleep during your activation, and like it was like snoring, and like I was like, oh my God, like I felt like we had cleared so much. And then afterwards you were like, I feel alive, and like things moved, and like even now, like, your voice sounds different. Like, so much has cleared out. It's a shift of energy, and you are on your timeline is different, your frequency is different, and then therefore
Yes.
what happens around you is different. And that matters. Like that matters because the frequency of like your frequency is then the frequency of your significant other, of the people around you, of your clients, of your friends, of everybody around you.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like I was getting lower than everybody else. So it was just like, yeah. And I'm sure it's happened before, but I think now I'm really understanding like, wow, that was like really like a crazy experience, to be honest, because I kept telling myself I never have these interactions with these negative things, and all of a sudden it's like, really, we're gonna show you that you do. And it's just not in an obvious way, and that's always what I experience. It's never in an obvious way, and I don't realize till after that something's happening.
But it does still feel very intentional because I do think that part of your work, part of our work together is to show people that this is happening, because I do think so many of you all that are listening, like I really do think like you've been through these experiences, these things happen. And I do think maybe it gets accidentally cleared, which is amazing. Like I think you do go for Reiki, or you go, you come see me, or you go see Beth, or you go do a class, or you do something, or you listen to a meditation and it gets cleared and it clears up. And it's like, thankfully that energy is moved or removed. What freaks me out is how many channelers, how many people, how many psychics, how many people this is like coming through that don't realize it, because more and more people are like, I'm speaking for the Federation, I'm speaking for this, I'm speaking for that. And I'm realizing it even in myself, like now that I'm more and more open as a channel, like, right, like I was saying, like now I'm realizing like how negative things, how easy it is for them to just be like, I'm Josh Shoon. And like Josh Shoon made fun of us he made fun of me, at least. Like he was like, I mean, like if you don't know me by now and my energy, like, I mean, like what's wrong with you? Like we've been friends for millennia. Like, I mean, give me a break. Like if you don't have a question you can ask me for like, you know, then like to know it's me, then like, I mean, you're like, who are you? You know, which is just Josh Shoon being Josh Shoon. But like, you know, I think that, you know, we talked about last time being able to feel that energy, but it's really good to have the tools and resources. And you know, the hardest part is being able to pull yourself out of it. And so if you find yourself in that place, you know, come, you know, if you feel that way right now, like you know, and it's like dark, like come see one of us, like, you know, and you know, because that's my best advice. Because when I felt like that, and I know Beth said it was similar, like, I mean, I couldn't meditate or listen to an activation. It was really hard.
I couldn't do anything. I was just like sitting there. I would be on doom scrolling on my phone. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't even enjoy this, you know? And it really feels like someone like hijacks your brain and body.
They do, because that's what they do. That's exactly what they do. And that's why it feels like assault, because you know, because they are taking over, and that's what they want to do. And you know, we'll include here, because I had sent you that really awesome prayer. The what?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant the Merkaba.
Oh, yeah. The Merkaba activation is awesome. But also,
that was so good.
That was really good for like the timeline jumping and the clearing, but also the sovereign prayer.
Oh, yes.
Because for me, like the biggest thing was lighting a black candle if you have one, and like really fast to clear the energy, and saying a like prayer really just fast to call back your energy from all the places where it is, and just like declaring your sovereignty.
Yes.
And we can include that in the notes like really quickly, that you can just say.
Right. And I have to take this advice. I need a black candle, you know? And it was so funny because I had one in my hand because I went to Jim Thorpe, PA, because that's my big vacation. But it was actually very, very cute. You feel like you're in like a little Swiss town city. But they have so many witch stores. It was so funny. And I had all these candles in my hand, and then we got called to like go to the restaurant. So I'm like, damn it. And I meant to go back and get it. And then you're like, you need a black candle. I'm like, I literally had one in my hand and I didn't even like go get it.
Yes,
so it's also
you
little
need a
stuff
black
like
candle.
that.
I'm not a big color candle type of person, surprisingly, but I'm like a white candle and a black candle person. Like I always have a white candle. Like I have one lit right now, and I have a black candle. Those are my big
Purple I do have
for protection.
That I do. Yeah. Okay, I have to like pivot a little bit because you were starting to tell me about, so you said you went into this meditation last night and did the ritual, but you said Joshun asked about the moons.
Okay. Yes.
And so when you went and looked up Archonic
Okay. So yes, I did this ritual. Joshun came through, and I'm channeling Joshun, and first before that, there was like a little Archonian, like a little bit, it was trying to come through, trying to be my higher self. And they were like trying to tell me to go to the mirror. And I was like, no, I'm not going to the mirror. Like they were like, go to the mirror. And I was like, no, screw you. You go to the mirror. I was like, I want to speak to Joshun. Management.
Right.
Anyway, so, and I was like, and I had all my stuff, and I was like, I am highly protected, so you can, like, yeah, go screw. So anyway, I started talking to Joshun, and it was really fascinating. And I also want to point this out because I think this is really helpful to people. We were talking about timeline jumping back and forth, and he was telling me that the reason why I'm struggling with my manifestations and landing my manifestations is of making decisions. Bethor struggles with this as well, of embodying what I choose, what I'm wanting. Like he's like, you say something, but then you do another thing. And he was like, and so then he said to me, he talked again about the restaurant, and he said, I want you right now to make an order as if you were, and he like forced my hand. And I just like, moment of clarity, did an order, like manifestation, like he's like, just tell me exactly what you want. And I did. But then I was wearing one of my bracelets that had a crescent moon, and the crescent moon fell off. And I jokingly said, I hope that's a sign. And then he says to me, he says, there's more to the moon than you think. And I was
I thought he said like you have to stop doing the
no,
thing.
well, so he says to me, there's more to the moon than you think. And I said, excuse me. And like, and then he said, you're something about like, you're obsessed with following the moon. And then he said to me, you need to look beyond. There's more to this whole like moon thing than you think that there is. And then there's like more to it. Then I looked up theories about the moon. Like he basically was saying to me that like there's more to following the moon. Like basically saying to me that like following the moon isn't like what I think it is, and that like that we're obsessed with following it, and that we need to look beyond. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, that I'm obsessed with following it.
Right.
Yes. Right. Sorry, my headache medication, they told me, the doctor told me it's called dopamine, and that it makes me forget things. Not dopamine, I'm sorry, Dopamax. He said Dopamax makes me a dope. I'm like, thank you. Anyway, so it's more to following it. So I looked up on ChatGPT unhinged moon theories, and I learned that there's like theories with the Anunnaki and the Archons taking over and ruling the moon. And I'm going to hold on, I'm going to pull up what I found. So one is that the moon is an Archonic soul trap. Okay. Oh my God. The moon is a soul harvesting machine. Okay. That's one. It is a hollow artificial satellite built by terrestrials. Okay. That's one. It is a Archonic soul trap. It is once held the codes of the divine feminine, but then it was hijacked by darker forces such as Archons, hybrids, AI consciousness, and Anunnaki, and it was distorted to invert feminine power. And now it's basically the real lunar codes are now stored in your blood and bones and are waiting to be reactivated through sovereignty and ritual. And wait, it gets better. So that one came up. Then I get a message. This was actually earlier in the day. I get a message channeled earlier in the day. The second half of the year is pure divine feminine energy about salvation and reclamation of all the things you lost, as the things that were lost, the things you didn't realize that you lost, the things that were needed, the things that are coming, the things that are finding acceptance, about finding acceptance, the things that were lost that never really were lost and that maybe you really did need. Maybe that this next chapter is a whole new book. There's more to that. But
yes.
So reclamation.
And I see them like sitting on wherever those codes are held on the moon. And is it really a coincidence now that actually, I think the second part to that it's in your bones, it's in your blood. Why are you here to activate people and wake that like celestial DNA up? Why are archons or the mimics coming in to mess you up? Why are they attacking me? Because I'm working with you, right? And we're waking this all up. That makes so much sense. And I think part of it is, I think there's something, I keep getting shadow. So I think there's something in the shadow work that if everybody does that, these negative entities don't have their power, so there's something in the self-work, because self-work has been coming up so much in the spiritual side of things. And I think, and I just saw something about shadow work too, with this week specifically. So I think like there's something with the shadow that it's blocking. Okay, so the purpose of the shadow too is to block you from accessing this energy,
and
right?
With the women,
so you need to work through that.
It's the divine feminine energy, but it's also hidden. It's hidden in the body. It's hidden in the blood. It's hidden in the celestial DNA, but it's also hidden in the earth. It's hidden in.
It's hidden in. I think that's what your subconscious is. It's hidden in your subconscious. And that's why shadow work you have to do, because you need to get there. It's hiding from you. Like that's literally what subconscious is. I mean, it makes so much sense. And so much with your subconscious has to do with your DNA expressing itself. Because when you work through something, trauma can turn on and off DNA expression. So it's really interesting how this all kind of links together. And I just see this like dark force sitting on top of this like door on the moon, like keeper of all this DNA we're supposed to, and codes we're supposed to have activated. And I think the first thing we're supposed to do is activate here so that we have the energy to remove them. That's crazy.
That is crazy, right? Yep.
Yeah. I love that. That is nuts. I love these crumbs and how they take us places.
Yeah. I mean, more on that. And then they've talked more. Yeah. And there's something there too with Mary Magdalene. So I think more to come on that.
Of course. Of course. Wow. Well, that was a lot. And I think we like dove back in. We took a little break. And sometimes you need the break to like get your, like ground yourself, get your bearings, and like come back recharged. And I think we're so much more recharged. Like, I think I needed a clearing. I think you needed this ritual so that we could be back and on point, because they really like, I felt led us astray.
Yeah, intentionally so.
Yeah.
So we are back. And yeah, if you want to work with us, if you need a clearing, if you need support, come work with us in our sacred container. We have some people who are going to be doing that, and we're excited about that. And
yes, we're so excited.
Come work with us, come get cleared, come get support. And we love to hear from you. So we will see you next time.